smash that like if you haven't done so already. Let's get into our perspective when it comes to this whole thing of quant FUD, right? So we first showed the other guys. Let's show what we've gathered, right? If you hold quant, smash that like. Here we go. Let's jump into it. Like I posted earlier, no matter what the project is, there will be FUD, like I mentioned. This thread will address some of the recent FUD with actual research. Shout out to the great Quant Papa for the help in regards to the matter. And see you guys on the show. Here you guys are. So I like this. You know, this is, of course, me rewording some things from Quant Papa. People act like Gilbert Verdian got kicked out of the, Digital Pound Foundation. He didn't. Let's blow this up. As you can see right here, a little bit of what was it from Reddit? So notice it says he resigned on the 22nd of March, 2023, right? It's not terminated, okay? It says Rolt resigned as director, okay? We're going to go further down to this. I stated he didn't resign. Everything Gilbert Verdian calculated and planned, all right? These are the words of Quant Papa. Again, I'm just trying to edit it to bring it to you guys. So the vision started in 1997. Quant is building up some momentum for something huge that is coming. They are the foundation of the blockchain economy. All right, now here's some of the real juicy stuff from Quant Papa. He states the IETF, right? SATP. We talked a lot about this. So just to catch you guys up, if you're brand new to this, like I don't know these abbreviations. Just try to remember this. So it's IETF, right? Is just like that. It's a task force, if you will. They're like the pioneers of the internet before it was even called the internet, back to I think 1985, 86, something like that, in that particular range. SATP, we covered it at least 3 or 4 times of why it's huge. We've had a tokenizer on the show. We've done more than enough research in regards to that. If you're not caught up on that, you go to the video section. There's at least 3 or 4 videos that specifically go in very deep in regards to SATP. And even Sean, I believe, you were part of that when we did Utility Talk Now about a month ago for that. So yeah, we talked more than enough about it. But it says when this takes off, it will be the standard that will be global, not just in one country. This will become the new internet standard, like BGP, Border Gateway Protocol. Now, if you don't know about that, you can look more into that in itself. We're going to blow this thing up for you guys. Now, when I blew this up, does it look big enough on this?
Maybe bigger. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough to read.
That's going to be tough to read. Okay. Well, let me try to blow this up just a tad bit more. Look at that. How about this?
Whoa. Damn. Okay, maybe a little too much.
Okay, good?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right, cool. So it says, well summarized, the idea in inception was in 1997. You got to keep in mind, this is from GV himself. It stemmed from security, had a concern with the fundamental insecure architecture of the internet. You got to keep in mind, I mean, when we talk about Web 1, this is still the days of Web 1, right? When Gilbert Verdian talks about walled gardens, silos, all this stuff, how about this? If you're a guy on AOL, are you really talking to the guy from CompuServe?
No, mortal enemies at that point.
Yeah, you're right. So when we talk about interoperability, it's a whole different environment. So what he was trying to accomplish nowadays, right, was just almost impossible then back in 1997. So it says there was a better way to create a secure internet, had to wait patiently, like he mentions, for 20 years in his security career for, Satoshi in 2008. Of course, he's referring to the Satoshi white paper, has, the inception of, Bitcoin and so on, BTC. This second part, the technology was not there in 97. He had to create a more secure internet to complement the existing one. Firewalls were mainly routers with ACLs. Very true. Security was treated as part of the networking. He wanted to bridge the details existing internet with a more secure enclave. How about this? Decided the best way was to have a career in security. Hold on a second. I think Sean's doing something in the background. Oh,
sorry.
That's right. It says to make the internet protocols work, better and more secure, right? But look at the background that he had, right? He basically, used to work with some of these big players, HSBC, BP, Vocalink, Mastercard, the UK government, even the government of Australia, right? You got to keep in mind Gilbert Verdian is technically Australian. He even did work here in the United States, right? So while working out how we can make the internet protocols better and more secure, kind of read that a little bit backwards. Sorry about that. The protocols and architecture of the internet of today was designed without security in mind from the 1950s, resulting in ARPANET. We talked about ARPANET. Some people state that technically, the real original internet was ARPANET, created by the Soviets and so on. You can get into that own deep dive for yourself if you want. They never envisioned the networks to be used in the way we do today. He says he called this new internetwork the Neo Network NN in 1997. And you want to know something? You can look more into that if you choose to nerd it out and do that. I'm just going to get into a couple more of these real quick because it's good stuff. Let's jump up to this. He says NN would sit alongside the internet and provide a way to do secure transactions and be designed with secure protocols and able to transact money. The technology of the early 2000s, it just wasn't there. It just wasn't there yet. You got to keep in mind, even Elon Musk, right? He was part of PayPal in the early 2000s and so on, right? And, of course, he had differences with them and so on, decided to go his own separate ways and whatnot. But even with the great Elon Musk being part of PayPal, it still wasn't there even for PayPal. Is that an itch that Elon has to scratch at some point? I think so. That's a story for another day. Maybe we'll take more of a deeper dive into that some other time. But look what is also mentioned here. Then comes the Satoshi paper, October 2008. He saw it a couple weeks after it was released. My God, right? And he loved it. Whoever Satoshi, notice how he says R? He knows it's more than one person. He says they understood security, decentralization, and internet scale networks. He was in the UK government at the HM Treasurer. We did vouch, or we did look more into that in the past. That is true. During the financial crisis, Satoshi are on the right track. Decentralization is almost impossible in distributed systems. This is worth exploring and evolving. Being at a very senior level in the UK government, asked his colleagues to assess and do a policy on Bitcoin in 2008. UK was the first government to assess Bitcoin. And think about where we're at now. And how about this, before we kick into the next thing? I also want to hear Sean's take about this. Then in 2013, he basically moves from the UK back down to Australia, works in the government, established the blockchain. Remember this, guys? ISO standard TC307, literally written by Quant's own Gilbert Verdian. And in 2015, like TCP/IP, this was the right way to create a common framework for interoperable and secure blockchain networks, 57 countries, and now basically work on this standard.
That's a lot. Obviously, going back to 97, getting involved at the earliest possible time to work alongside the internet. This basically sounds like, Swift, of the internet. So, moving messages, that are secure in order to move money, right? Which is crazy. And I didn't know that, that he was involved in that all the way back in the day. That's crazy to know. And then moving from the UK to Australia, and then being part of that the ISO standard as well. That's obviously he's a huge player who's been in this game for a very long time. So maybe when he resigned, maybe he just lost interest. Everything that he's done literally for decades. Yeah.
Bye, Felicia. I'm done with this.
Yeah,
this is not. I'm a secret moon boy. It's not going to the moon. I'm out of here. Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, but obviously a key figure. I think will probably go down in history. When the books are written, decades from now, a key figure in putting all of this together.
Yeah, exactly. Some people say, like, who's the original guy that invented the internet? Well, how about this? Like,
wasn't it Al Gore?
God, we're still, some people are still saying it's funny you mentioned that. But these stages that where we go, that we go from Web 3, eventually we're gonna go into Web 4. People state that, well, when it's Web 4, it's basically gonna be like, heavily AI controlled. I think that can very well be the case. But anyway, let's get more into this. So showed you guys this. I'm gonna jump back here for a second. Let's get into this next one. All right. So there's this, right? And going to show you this next part of this. So we're going to blow this part up a little bit more as well, make it nice and big for you guys. But, you know, it's just kind of like a little bit more of everything you just saw, right? So, you know, he says today, which one you prefer, this one or this one?
That one.
That one. All right.
Makes it real easy to read.
Yeah. Gilbert Verdian, right, states today, and this is a while back, he was very pleased to hear the official approval of the Secure Asset Transfer Protocol, like we talked about numerous times, right, guys? SATP. Now, while that we've, you know, gone over this many times, let's just take a brief moment to, you know, just get into this. So he says, again, he's pleased to hear the official approval of the SATP working with the IETF. Again, you got to keep in mind the IETF is literally like the pioneers of the internet. This has been a tremendous effort over the last 2 years working with Thomas Harjano from MIT. Remember how we talked about that whole Quant MIT, you know, connection, right? They were also working with the New York, you know, Reserve back in, I don't know, late 2022. The whole thing with Project Hamilton. Look more into that for yourself if you want to nerd it out. Anyway, Connection Science, even Martin Hargreaves, Wes Hardacre, right? Here's some of the, you know, posts. You know, it says, I hope most of you have seen this announcement, but just in case you haven't, the SATP WG is officially open and running. I understand it's blurry. Sorry about that, guys. It's now time. Buckle down and deliver what we promised in the charter. Thank you to everyone that put in so much effort into getting this off the ground. It's been a bumpy ride, but now it's time to get down to work and deliver the documents we promised we would. Cheers, and see you at IETF 116, either in person or virtually, according to Wes. Now, when I got into this, it says, and colleagues from Intel, IBM, look who's mentioned there, IBM. Why do we mention IBM? I'm going to show you this just for a brief moment. All right, let's jump back. So it says colleagues from Intel, IBM, etc. This working group is also co-chaired by Quant Network's very own Claire Facer, right? The journey into IETF starting in the early 2003 while at CSC, Computer Science Corporation, now DXC Technology, working as a security architect across. Now, we dropped that bombshell last Sunday. I think people were watching the video that was, you know, in recorded format yesterday in regards to this whole thing of IBM, right? And, you know, basically we're connecting the dots of, you know, shout out to Quant Papa. It showed proof, right, that IBM, Quant, MIT, they got this thing basically charted for CBDC. And, you know, there's millions of people in Shenzhou, China. They're going to be receiving their, I guess you could say, their income in the form of that new CBDC, and that's going to go live in May within just a couple weeks.
Yeah,
right?
I saw that.
Yeah, so I put out that video. Again, shout out to Quant Papa. I mean, he's killing it with the research. And, you know, somebody said, you have a source? We're like, boom, here's your source. So it shows that in the video. So I just want to reiterate that because IBM was a big player in regards to this, right? So we can get further down into this. It says, private and public sector, he was concerned about the security of their underlying internet protocols that they rely on daily. He just didn't build in an effective security at the core and since had to implement multiple security workarounds to manage basically this. And then how about this? Since the late 90s, he was looking at how to better secure the internet, create an alternative secure zone as an overlay that can handle transactions that inherently need more security. The way forward was to create a new protocol that can route and secure these types of, and then of course there's this over here. We'll jump over to that. Now, the main methods to creating a protocol, basically, you know, I'm sorry, transactions. Then he has an outline. Now, before we jump into this outline, just real quick. So remember, you know, we're talking about this whole thing with Overledger. Remember a while back I did a video about QRC 721 and how in the future when NFTs really start popping off left and right and we get some of the utility-based NFTs in a, you know, like a real all-time high bull run, watch out for Quant because they have the industry standard when it comes to a secure smart contract for these NFTs. And we did a deep dive that went into all the problems back in 2021 with Solana, Ethereum, and so on. with those smart contracts. And let's face it, I think there was even an issue with OpenSea a while back where people were like hijacking some of the original owners' NFTs and so on, right? It was a real problem. What was the solution? Well, what Quant has with QRC 721. So anyway, look at this real quick, guys. It says create a product which is widely used, which becomes the adopted standard that particular use case, for instance, Napster back in the day for P2P, peer-to-peer, create a protocol openly with no restrictions embedded in systems which are used. Sean, did you ever have a chance to maybe I know I kind of gave this to you a little bit late today because I had some interruptions. But did you have a chance to see more about some of this by any chance?
I did not.
Okay, that's okay. So at the end of the day, it's like they recognize that they need to have more of these, quote unquote protocols, right? So what is this mainly about? Well, he's going to give you some examples. So GV goes into further detail. He says, for instance, Telnet and Unix, TCP/IP, the early 80s. You basically wanted something even back in the 90s, right? Originally, like he was stating that, but they couldn't get this done because it was impossible with that technology. You had to wait many, many years. So it says create a protocol standards through industry collaboration such as RFCs. I don't understand, for some of you newcomers, you see some of this terminology, you're like, I don't understand all that. Again, I just advise you to go to our recorded section. We do deep dives for a reason. But anyway, RFCs, e.g., SMTP, HTTP, all these ones you see. He says there's a good example of adoption of protocols and standards when you look at OCI and TCP/IP. This next part, he says where an open protocol was easier to access, simpler to implement, and widely adopted, started with the U.S., for instance, DOD in 1983, the World TCP/IP Day. Decided the best option was to create a protocol through industry collaboration. 20 years later, listen to this, guys, back to the pioneers of the internet, the IETF was the right place and approach. And then he goes on to state, this thinking is what led to the establishing of the ISO standards. Aha. And that basically is kind of like the aha moment even for you, Sean, where you're like, you didn't realize that, and that's okay. But basically the TC 307 standard, the blockchain ISO standard. That's what is so crucial about ISO TC 307. Everybody talks about ISO 222, and rightfully so, like for payments and reading those messages and so on, and what tokens and coins are tied into that. But when it comes to Quant, they are the standard for blockchain. They are the blockchain ISO standard with TC 307. All right, just this last part. What does SATP really, do in reality? He says we are on a journey and transformation to the internet of DLT networks, providing better security, which will coexist with internet networks. Then it goes on to mention we see a future with networks of networks much larger than the current internet networks of today. Transacting data, information, and value. SATP will be a core infrastructure akin to internet routers operating like BGP today. So the bottom line is this. This guy, even though his fudders want to go after him and so on, and Quant saying that this is just a bunch of nonsense, got to come to the conclusion that, this guy is a pioneer, just like the IETF is basically a pioneer. And they still are, a pioneer. And then they're working with the pioneers to create what, guys? A whole brand new internet. And what is that brand new internet? It's the evolution of Web3. I mean, you even have ties to, the metaverse and all that. How does that get done? If we're talking about Ripple with its payment rails, Sean, how about Quant when it comes to, I know I said a lot, interoperability, but that is the poster child, if you will, the bumper sticker for Quant.
Yeah, it's going to be, and obviously you can see what he's talking about is they've been building from the very beginning, right? And he's been part of that this whole time. The IETF, SATP, and now he mentions that when there's networks of networks, which is basically going to eclipse whatever we know today, which may be in 20 years, 50 years. I can't imagine the amount of data and information that's going to be flowing across these networks. And for somebody like Gilbert, I don't know how long he's going to be around or involved in all this. I imagine probably his entire life. I don't know. It's kind of awe-inspiring, really. You don't see these kind of figures. We've got the Elon Musk right now that, what is he? He's an owner of 5 different, $1 billion companies. who's just an absolute rock star out there in the world. And you have these secret hidden supermen who are kind of behind the scenes, who you're never going to know. And most people will never know Gilbert Verdian's name. But he will be the person or one of the people instrumental for the reason why we can stream today. And these, all the ISO tokens. I know we talked about ISO tokens before, and everybody focuses on the 222 for payments, but ISO has standards for just about every industry out there, right? And he's obviously pioneering the one for internet protocol.
Yeah,
I mean it's impressive. I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah, well, there's obviously more that we have in regards to it. It's just, but our thing is this, guys. So I want us to state for the record, I'm not telling anybody to go out and buy Quant. I'm not telling you to, mortgage your home or sell a couple cars or donate a kidney or whatever for Quant. At the end of the day, just look at it this way, right? I mean, if you're convinced that you want to do that, then by all means, you got to do what you got to do. But, as the saying goes, only put in what you can afford to lose. I understand that there's some people in different financial situations where maybe you could make some of those power moves more than the next guy, but at the end of the day, it's just if you believe in the research and you're like, what, Quant is literally the digital infrastructure for the new internet, and understanding like there is a new internet coming out that is the path forward, all the stuff with Web3 and so on, then you got to do what you got to do. And an example basically is like, and I'll jump into another subject just briefly, and that is with Jasmine, blockchain PCs. I mean, who would have ever thought that we would come to a point in time where there's such a thing as blockchain PCs? Yeah, there is, and that's a whole other subject in itself that we cover quite a bit. But anyway,
it's been a great. Imagine this though, with Gilbert Verdian and the work he's done with Internet Engineering Task Force. I mean, remember, Quant is just a small part of what he's doing, what he's been involved with, right? He's out there working for the betterment of the entire internet, right? Which I think is a much larger project than Quant is. Quant's really kind of helping the legacy financial system and different industries talk to each other via APIs or whatever it is they're going to end up using.
There's more to it than just that, but I agree with you.
But yeah, but Quant is just a small portion of what he's been working on.
Of the bigger picture.
Of the bigger picture, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But I mean, it's not discounting. Like, I don't want people to think that, Sean it's only a small thing. Well, the hell with this. I'm out of here.
Well, I'm not saying it's a small. Obviously, yeah, Quant is going to be a major player out there. Probably one of the, I would say, easy top 10, maybe top 5. Actual real world use cases of blockchain. If we're going to say blockchain, right, going forward. So yeah, don't mistake what I'm saying. His efforts, Gilbert Verdian's efforts out there in the world. His efforts for Quant could constitute kind of a small part of the larger effort of basically the technology overall, as far as I can see.
Let's kick it back into this outline that we have. It's a good outline, I think, for the most part. Shout out to, the great Quant Papa, right? I love it when they call me Quant Papa. Let's share this next part from the outline. All right, here we go. We talked about this whole thing of, the history behind all this stuff, right? All right, so I think we left off on point 9. We're going to go to this next one up here. All right, number 10. So SATP is going to solve the following. Discovery, firstly, connecting distributed ledger technology networks, internal and even external, permissionless, to discovery and identify each other, basically, with routing. The protocol will allow gateway-to-gateway interconnectivity and routing to standardize handshakes, right? You got to keep in mind, like, if you're new to all this, there is, they call it a virtual handshake, right? So it's kind of like, you think about from layman's terms, right? Like you're trying to establish a connection, right? So if I go to I hate to say this, like a car dealership, and, I extend my hand, and, you have this car salesman just drooling for a sale, and he's going to stick it out, and he's going to, shake my hand and so on, right? That's a communication, this connection and so on. Well, in the online world, they have what they call a virtual handshake. And that virtual handshake basically means packets of information being sent from like one server to another to establish that communication or that communicate, for them to get that data, if you will, right? So that's what he's referring to, standardized handshakes, right? For establishing communication, transacting, so on and so forth. So it says, then establish transactions across networks in a secure manner with the appropriate controls, integrity, and even access checks. This particular part, I won't be able to blow it up because that was just a screenshot. But Gilbert states, I'm very much looking forward to working on SATP. We already know about that. He has this draft, right? So I'm going to jump back to what we have, a little bit more from this outline. Okay. So let's drop it down to this. All right. And again, this is from Quant Papa. He states, and this is his words here. He states, Quant's YouTube page is all of a sudden active after 1 year again. And that is true. We did find out some of that. Like I showed you guys some of those commercials, if you will, from Quant. But yeah, it's active after 1 year again. They have random new Quant videos, and their entire website, guys, gets new pages, plus calling themselves down the foundation. Why would they go out and say stuff like that? That's pretty bold for them to say that, right? Also on Twitter, the IETF was approved. The call for adoption in IETF mails. In regards to EBA Day, if you're wondering about what the heck is that, we're going to jump into that. Quant is literally, and this is just again like a typo and so on. I was trying to. You got to keep in mind, Quant Papa's main language is not English, but shout out to him, man. At least he can speak more than one language. The average American can't. How about that?
Nope.
Yeah. So people,
stupid Americans.
Yeah, I always think like people are like making fun of other people who, don't write the English perfect. It's like, do you speak more than one language? No. Well, then be quiet. You know what I mean? Because that's just where it's at. My buddy lives in the Netherlands, and he was like, yeah, our curriculum, we have to, since the time we're like a little kid, like in kindergarten or whatever, we have, or first grade, I should say, they have to learn, listen to this, German, Dutch, and English. So everybody in the Netherlands is trilingual. It's a requirement, right? And we only know one. So it's like, please. Anyway, all right. So in regards to EBA Day, Quant is literally the only crypto project that's on the list. Gilbert Villarreal will talk on stage for implementing a CBDC in front of almost all the biggest players in the world. And here's one of the key takeaways, guys. So understand that here soon, LAC chain, I guess is the right way to call it. I always call it LAC chain. LAC chain for Latin America is going to be a big thing, right? We already had, piloting testing, beta testing, where you want to call it, that happened roughly this time last year, and that worked out well, long before everybody else had anything solid. So there's that. On top of that, the big news that dropped in regards to Chengdu, China, 15 plus million people getting paid with that CBDC, the Quant connection, the IBM connection, all that stuff. How about this, right? This new one for another CBDC on EBA Day. So we're going to jump into that for just a brief moment. Let's pull this up. I'm going to show you this whole thing in regards to EBA Day. So EBA Day 2023 is going to happen on June 20th through the 21st. It says the IFEMA. It's going to be in Madrid. Advancing the next generational payments, a quest for global interoperability, right? It's an annual summit for the leading payments and transaction banking executives. Again, who is one of the top dogs that's going to be there? Quant's very own Gilbert Villarreal. And we're going to show that to you. Telling you flat out, I just came upon this information myself thanks to who? Quant Papa. And you know what? I asked Quant Papa I said, hey, man, would you mind helping us out a little bit for a show tonight? I was thinking like maybe you would say, okay, well, I'll give you like a little bit. No, Sean, he gives me like a whole boom, 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 boom. Like just like he's like AI. Quant Papa is like a freaking AI. He just gives me all this. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God. Like, thank you, Quant Papa.
Yeah, it's a lot of info.
Yeah, it was just unbelievable.
And it's ready to go, right? It was just at the ready. Boom.
He's an AI, So anyway, so when you get more into this, right? Look at the, some of this that's mentioned. Next generational banking as a service, fintech collaboration. I mean, this is at this event. And guys, when this happens, obviously, I think this is going to, I'm just going to call it, this is causing me to be very busy. I think Tokenizer is going to be very busy. Quant Pop is going to be very busy. Shout out to Greg Lunt. I'm sure he's going to be quite busy. Quanto, Ronto, all these guys are covering this stuff. And it's not just Quant, right? I'm sure, like, you know, you might have the likes of, you know, Lewis Jackson, maybe Verson, because, you know, there's going to be, you know, other players here. I would imagine that Ripple or somebody like that would show up to an event like this. To me, that would make sense, you know, especially where it says cross-border payments for interoperability, right, Sean? Are we too far off?
Nope. Yeah. You're right over the target.
Yeah. So, and it's awesome to get some of this information. So, you know, you got this whole thing of central bank digital currency, CBDCs, real-time payments, and open finance. That's Ripple all the way. Identity services and fraud prevention, trends in payments, technology. You get the gist, right? Well, there's trends in liquidity, and that's totally, you know, like freaking Ripple all the way right there. And I imagine even Danielle Dixon will be there. So, you know, it says why attend. You know, this is for the big players, right? But look at the very, very top. We'll get into some of the agenda and all this stuff in a bit. I'm going to click on speakers. Okay. It says meet the speakers. See below our fantastic lineup for speakers for EBA Day 2023. More will be announced shortly. And, you know, again, there's some, I guess some people know about some of these people, right? There's this lady, Camilla Ackerman. She is the Secretary General of Nordic Payments, right? You know, but it gives you links to, like, you know, for LinkedIn, some of the other bio, you know, profiles and so on. Let me see where we're at. I'm going to go further down. I mean, there's a lot of people showing up to this event, yeah. And then look here, guys. Well, is it going to show Gilbert Verdian? Boom, Gilbert Verdian right there, right? I don't even know if I could blow that up. Hold on a second. No, I can't, but that's okay. So it says they're looking forward to welcoming you to EBA Day 2023. But I mean, if Gilbert Verdian is like a nobody, he's sure getting invited. Oh, okay, they're lit up. He's sure getting invited to some big things, right? And it does have some of his profile. Let me see if we can even get to that particular part. Oh, there we go. All right, so it gives him a bio. We know about most of the stuff, but like it says, as founder and CEO of Quant, Gilbert is focused on unlocking the power of blockchain for everyone to create an empowered, interconnected world. GV has more than 20 years of cybersecurity experience and C-level accountability. As a Cisco CIO and CTO, he worked in government, again, for Downing Street, HM, Treasury, the Cabinet Office, the Ministry of Justice, NSW Health. Also served in the private sector at MasterCard, VocalLink, CSC, EY, PwC, BP, and HSBC. With a keen interest in disruptive technology, Gilbert established, as we know, the ISO TC307 standard. You know, you get the whole gist of it. But there's a lot of people going to be here. I'm sure they might even expand this list. I mean, I had to go through it again just to see if we saw anybody from like Ripple and so on. So there's that. You know, and they got all this other stuff going here, right? And you're more than welcome to take a look into like some of the agenda, day 1, day 2. We're not going to really, you know, do a lot of this, but, you know, they give you an outline: open banking, open for women, around the world in seconds, all this stuff, right? How new technologies are transforming banking. But the point is, you know, like, use cases. I mean, just on and on and on, right? There's something massive going to happen here. So I'm sure there'll be people like, you know, Quant Pop and so on. They'll take the best of it. They put some, you know, like he normally does, right? He does the highlights. Looking forward to seeing what's going on with this. And, you know, again, I wasn't aware that this was going to happen in June, but oh yeah, I'm definitely paying attention to this. Glad to share it with you guys, obviously.
And who's the big sponsor? Who's the big sponsor of this? JP Morgan.
Did you go on here? Is
oh yeah, JP Morgan and Deutsche Bank.
All right, so this is okay. I appreciate this, Sean. So you're saying if I go to sponsors and exhibitors, that will show up there?
Well, the very first, yeah, JP Morgan. It's always funny to see them involved in any type of blockchain or future of payments type situation where they're so, I know it's bright. They're so anti-crypto, you know, one day and then for it the next day. You know, Jamie Dimon and his split personality.
Well, I'm just saying, oh my God, because like, you know, yeah, you're right. I mean, JP Morgan, and it's just like, anyway, yeah, Deutsche Bank guys, look at this, JP Morgan, for crying out loud.
Yeah, they're in the middle of it. right? The JP Morgan is in the middle of everything.
Well, look at this. I mean, just even if you're a person just like, going to the site, which some of you guys are, if you're following along, these are the two, we talk about showcase. Here's some of the showcase participants, right? And you go down here, host and bank sponsors. I mean, they kind of get, their little mentions.
Look how small they are.
Yeah, I know. But
Citibank, I mean, Citibank's huge. HSBC
used to be the biggest.
A big bank. BNY Mellon is huge. It's a huge bank, and they're just little tiny mention. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Citibank, I remember because I was a loan officer for 2 years back in 2005 to 2007. And we used to always tell people, like, Citibank is the biggest of them all, right? And like you see right here, I mean, it's like, okay, it's a little tiny spot. And then up here, JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, like.
Because, Jamie Dimon's like, listen, I don't want to be associated with those little tiny banks that you guys are dealing with. Okay, make sure I have a separate area segregated from all of the other little insignificant banks out there.
It's pathetic. And then knowing that, then you have what's his face of JP Morgan in numerous news interviews, Sean, saying how anti-crypto he is and stuff like that.
I'm telling you, dude, the dude has a split personality.
It makes no sense. And that's where I was like, okay, you must clearly have an assistant who's telling you, like, dude, shut up. You sound like an idiot. I mean, or you're doing this intentionally to like I mentioned earlier, like with some of these flutters, right? Where they're like, okay, are you doing this because you're trying to short this stuff? Is that what's
they're heavily. Obviously, JP Morgan is one of the largest investors in Ethereum and has been the entire time. All the while they're telling their people, like, hey, if I catch you guys buying crypto, I'm going to fire you. That's just, I tell you, man, it's weird.
Yeah, it's like, what?
But consider this. Obviously, one of the largest financial institutions on the planet, they know what's coming, right? They know the future's coming. It probably doesn't involve a fiat currency at some point, whenever this happens. They have to be in the middle of it. They've got to be involved some way, somehow, all of the time, everywhere, so that they don't miss anything, right? They want to make sure they control it. You know what I mean? They get a big piece of the pie, right? That's why they're at these places. They may not be actually contributing to the information or technology, but they are throwing their money and they're saying, hey, we want to make sure we are not left out. We want a seat at the table.
Yeah, I don't know. In the competition they have, I mean, they all act like, they're, we're all here for the same mission. BS. You're also there to compete with it, everyone else. And otherwise you would list yourself, like you mentioned, the same type of, space. I don't know. Maybe that was an accident, but I'm with you, man. I think that's
no way. That was no accident.
No way.
There are no coincidences. No.
Yeah. All right. So you guys see some of this, right? BNY Mellon, obviously Citi, HSBC, big stuff, right? There's corporate sponsors. We talked about Gilbert. He used to do work with MasterCard. Nexi is very big up, that partnership with Quant. Hey guys, we always talk about Swift. There's Swift, right? Visa. How about the cloud sponsor, Microsoft, right? So there's a lot of big names here, Sean. Have you gone throughout most of this on the bottom?
Yeah, I just looked at it. Yeah, like Montran. I mean, these are most of these are actually companies that move money. That's their business. So, which makes sense because that's what this whole what do you call it? This whole event is wrapped around is around the money of the future and how things are going to move. So it makes sense. Hewlett Packard Enterprise there.
This is tripping me out. Do you see that little shadow thing?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm like, is somebody behind me?
No,
why would you have that? That thing is like, that's weird. That's somebody's cheap version of a screensaver or something. It's just kind of tripping me out. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, okay. So I'm glad you went into this. Obviously,
what's funny is that yours is different. Oh, it must be moving because yours is different than mine. The shadow behind it.
Well, I'm using 1920 by 1080, so it might also be the resolution. But
there's Volante.
Where's Volante? I know you covered them.
Yeah, you just passed it up. They're a Ripple partner.
Where was it, up here or the other
down?
Way? Down.
Keep going down. Yeah, it was a little right there.
Oh, there is Volante. Huh. Interesting.
Quant, SurePay. Yeah. Everybody who's anybody in the payments game is there.
Yeah.
Surprise Ripple. Well, Ripple may be represented by Volante.
You never know. And not only that, they still have time to update this long before this particular event.
Yeah.
Fintech's on. So you guys are more than welcome to check out some of this. let's see where we're at on some of the time. So we're gonna have to just jump. We'll get into some comments in a bit, guys, but I want to just kind of get back into a little bit more what we have from this, because if we don't, we won't have no time. But I do appreciate everybody being here. Let me get into this real quick. So it says, we talked about the whole thing about GV. We'll talk on stage for implementing a CBDC in front of almost all the biggest players in the world. There was the proof. Even Sean, went through it. Thank you for doing that, by the way, Sean.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of big players there, right? All right. How about this just real quick? It says EBA topic is about global interoperability. On the webpage of the EBA, they mention that Quant is the foundation. The silence is a sign of adoption because it means they have NDA contracts running. Think about it.
I mean, it makes sense. I would assume these large companies like this, have important things going on in the background that we're not always privy to, just like we were talking about before. They don't have to explain every little thing to us. They have business to conduct.
Very true. There's some more, excuse me, when it comes to this outline, what people don't understand is that enterprise is super competitive. I think most of you guys understand that. They don't tell the enemy what type of tool they use, for instance. And that is true. They give them freedom to use any blockchain DLT in the world. It said that will give them freedom to use any blockchain DLT in the world. It says interconnect it to any API, cloud, and legacy existing ledger banking platform without hiccups ever. We're talking about over ledger, obviously, plus agnostic smart contracts that you can build outside the chain. With Quant, you can also deploy any blockchain DLT. Plus, you can migrate your decentralized apps with a thing called MDApps, which is multi-dApps, if you're wondering about that. You never get stuck at all. I think it's a little bit of a grammar typo. If the gas goes high, I know some of you guys are going to throw in the whole thing about the gas. That's okay. If the gas goes high, though, you can always migrate your entire platform to any other DLT, hence QRC20. Again, sorry, Flutters. Regulation from day one will be compliant to all standards and security. On top of that, all DLT without risking exposure of their existing legacy stack to DLT blockchain. And then this part, all right, it says, understand that Gilbert Verdian says their focus is not retail. And we talked about this at the beginning with Sean. We do not need moon boys or retail hype. We will succeed even if everyone thinks Quant is a scam. Quant's focus is enterprise clients. Again, kind of like what Sean was talking about. And yeah, a lot of people will never understand that. All right. And then here's some of the people from FT Live. Gilbert Verdian, CEO, founder Quant, is a panelist. You have Tom Mutton, director of the Central Bank Digital Currency, Bank of England. Again, guys, are we connecting the dots yet? We should be. When it comes to GV and Quant, how many times and how many different nations have they already, been in contact with when it comes to CBDCs? So, I mean, they're really about that, whether people are in favor of that or not. I'm going to pull this up as well. This is from that crypto.live.ft. Give me just a second. So the reason why I want to show you guys this, and let me blow it up just as much as I possibly can for you to see. Okay. So this is something that's coming up. All right. This is going to happen on Tuesday, May 9th from 11 a.m. to 11:30, I don't know, give or take, right? Your local time. But I think it's only got, 20, I should say 20 minutes. So it's saying it's going to start roughly in that time. And this is basically almost like a 4-hour event, right? So it says, keynote dialogue, central banking in the age of decentralization. Listen to this, guys. It says central banks are tasked with the delicate job of balancing risk and opportunities and designing CBDCs, which add value to the wider financial ecosystem. While the need for collaboration between public and private sides is clear, how to leverage this to deliver robust legal frameworks and successful CBDCs launches remains nebulous. Can CBDCs and crypto work together? I think they can. What are the new rules of this critical partnership to maintain innovation and stability all at once? Is there a common ground for all stakeholders on the horizon of a digital monetary economy? How is regulatory clarity? Again, guys, this week, I told you flat out, since what day, guys? Monday. So this is now Wednesday for the last 3 days straight for crying out loud. The theme of this week has been regulatory clarity. Last week's theme for the week in review was regulatory framework. The week before that was data, right? It's mentioned again. How is regulatory clarity set to evolve from one monetary zone to the next? Gilbert Verdian is going to discuss that. This is big, right? So, that's like 3 days before my birthday. I could totally remember that. I'm sure, the great Quant Papa and some other people, maybe even Tokenizer, you guys would chop it up, give some key highlights. We really would appreciate it. If you have the time, I'm sure you'll make the time because you're big fans of this. But yeah, GV is going to be addressing that. So, guys, this event come up in June with all the big wigs. You have this, right, Sean? We're not even done with this. And it's like, I already got that much more confidence. Like, wow, this guy's got Pioneer. He's working with other pioneers for the internet. We talk about Web3, the progression, even with CBDCs. Is there anything they're not doing, Sean?
No, one thing I would note here is that one of the biggest things that we have to deal with is that very last statement. How is regulatory clarity set to evolve from one monetary zone to the next, right? Talking from one country to the next. So right now we really don't have any clue, right? Since the U.S. can't get its act together, and the other countries, I know. Look, we just saw what was it? South Korea claimed that Luna wasn't a security, right? So now they have the ability to drop that lawsuit, or the ability to drop the lawsuit the SEC dropped on Do Kwon, and so that bodes well for a lot of people who think that everything the U.S. is just going to go ahead and convert everybody into the way that they think and see everything as security, but that's just not the case. Most countries don't see that, so they're really going to have to get their act together and kind of make an agreement. You know what I mean? Kind of this, gentleman's country agreement. Like, hey, let's get along. Let's write a set of rules that everybody can agree to, right? Not everything's a freaking security, so we can be adults and put things in the right places. So, and I was just looking up to see when this summit, the G7, is supposed to meet. I think it's soon, or maybe it's already happened.
But Sean, basically what you're saying is $4,400 invested into Luna Classic, well spent.
You know what? You got a shot, Max. There's always a chance, right?
All right. We're talking
Always
about Luna
chance.
Classic again, guys. Come on. Yeah, Luna Classic, baby. When's Max going to talk about Luna Classic again? What happened in the days of last summer? Raise the roof.
Are you getting into Terrarium Classic? How's that going to work?
Terrarium Classic. I never got into Terrarium. I know. Well, anyway, while you're looking up whatever, I'm going to just get down to a little bit more in regards to this. And I swear, guys, we'll get back in the comments in a bit. Look at this. Keynote dialogue, central banking in the age of, right? Like we got into some of this, right? And, just a reiteration, kind of like what we showed you, some of the big players. Let's see here. So let me see how we're doing on the time. Let me see. I think there's just like 3 or 4 more things to get into. You still have time for it, Sean, or you want me to take the lead?
Yeah, I got another 15 minutes or so.
Okay. All right. So to respect Sean's time before kicking back into the comments and so on, we're going to get to this next particular part. And again, shout out to Quant Papa in regards to this. So let me pull this up. I might just go ahead and share this in a way that's not so, I don't know, weird looking. Give me a second. All right. All right. So there's this. This is from the IETF, right? The Internet Engineering Task Force. Sometimes I forget abbreviations, but Sean reminded me. He got it right. All right. So it states on this particular one, I know this kind of looks like what the heck? This is like a notepad. So it says the content of this email is confidential and intended for the recipient, specified in the message only. It's strictly forbidden to share any part of this message with third
way
party.
to go, Max.
Yeah, well, I guess it got leaked, right? But the point is, it definitely did get leaked, right? And it mentions specifically about SATP and so on, right? We'll jump to this next particular part. Hold on a second. So let me jump to that. Ugh. Where the heck is it? All right, here we go. Here we go. Here it is. So let's copy the address on this. We'll share this one instead. All right. SATP from IETF, right? Call for adoption. Tuesday, the 25th of April, 2023. Hi, all. The SATP chairs have reviewed the call for adoption responses, and there is clear consensus that the documents have been accepted as working group documents. Document authors, please republish your drafts with a prefix, so on and so forth, right? It says there, thanks, Claire. Isn't who? I always wonder, is it Facer or Foucher for Claire? Do you know? If you don't know, it's okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Well, I mean, it says Facer, but
yeah. But the point is, guys, she's a big wig, right? And again, think about this whole thing, right? When we talk about the whole thing with SATP, it's huge, right? So this was, I don't know. I'm not saying I'm the one that leaked it, but it was leaked a while back, right? So there's that. We already established this a while ago, though. I want to show you guys another particular thing. And don't ask me where I get my sources or where Quant Papa gets his sources. The way I look at it, my source is Quant Papa, so boom. Anyway.
They are G14 classified.
Yeah,
he cannot tell you. He'd have to kill you.
Oh, jeez. All right, so there's this, I believe, is the next particular part. Hold on a second. Okay. This is still big enough, right?
Yep, looks good.
All right, on this one, it says Quant, International Standard Development. Quant is leading the space in international standard development for asset transfer bridges. We are a key contributor to the Internet Engineering Task Force. So, guys, we're talking about the IETF before and how literally they're pioneers of the Internet, but Quant is a key contributor to that. So, I mean, all this FUD about Quant, you got to keep in mind, I mean, I like the idea that, Gilbert Verity, and he's like a pioneer in himself, right? But his organization, as in Quant, are in fact a key contributor to that, right? So it says Secure Asset Transfer Protocol, SATP, like we talked about. They aim to standardize digital asset transfers from one network to another. On top of that, look at this. I love what Quant Papa does with some of this stuff. He just gets into all the key highlights, right? So we don't have to be here for 10 hours. But Max, you do WrestleMania at 5. Yeah, I know. That's different. It says each SATP gateway, application needs to interact with its assigned DLT network. This will normally require the use of DLT-specific software libraries and custom functionality, depending on which network and the gateway that it connects to. Avoid having to create multiple implementations to support each gateway to distributed ledger technology network connection. And look at this. Who does SATP use? They use Quant's Overledger. That's right. Overledger provides a set of standardized endpoints that allow us to interact with multiple DLT networks through the same interface. It even talks about Hyperledger Fabric down there as well, right? EVM, them, and so on. This last part, in regards to the acknowledgments, it says, we thank the SATP working group for their excellent work in the SATP protocol. We also thank everyone involved in the bridge-related projects at Quant for the invaluable expertise and contributions towards realizing secure cross-chain bridging and blockchain interoperability. Sorry, Flutters, whatever trying to pull out the service does not trump great research, deep dives, and so on. We're going to show you this as well. Look at this, a little bit more about SATP. It says, besides the interoperability of blockchain networks as a measure through ease of asset movements by their holders, a key motivation for the standardization, guys, of a secure cross-network asset transfer protocol is to address the poor security quality of the many proprietary cross-network bridge protocols that have resulted in the loss of over, listen to this, guys, $1 billion in the past 10 years. Then this last part. What a week they had in London. What it was a pleasure to see the Innovate Finance team again, Janine Hurt and many other peers and former colleagues. Day 2 was particularly productive, and we heard every UK leading figure, guys, every UK leading figure, not just some, saying the same thing. The UK is working to bring the best type of innovation to money. They are really standing out, right, with the whole thing. Let's face it, Digital Pound Foundation, right? I guess Gilbert did resign, but he didn't get terminated. It says, make no mistake, CBDCs are coming. They are, and Quant is the foundation of the blockchain economy for serious institutions and innovators alike. And with that said, before we wrap up things, I just want to point this out. So we put so much focus on, cross-border payments and so on. Keep in mind where Quant is when it comes to this. You remember when you yourself, Sean, mentioned the whole thing with plumbing? Again, maybe reiterate that for everybody for a moment.
Well, and so we were talking about Ripple, of course, and
Ripples,
XRP, yeah. Right, is going to be used as the plumbing, in the financial world. So that's everything's running behind the scenes, behind the wall. You can't see it. It's just automatic. You go to a bank, you want to transfer money to a different country, boom, it happens pretty much instantaneously. Costs you a few pennies, and it's done. And you don't ever have to hear the term Ripple or XRP or Quant. Quant bridging, obviously, a lot of these different sectors, different companies and banks together, and technologies together, right? It's almost a one-stop shop for interoperability, right? If you need anything legacy connected to anything quantum, Quant will be there. They'll be there in some way, some fashion. So and you talk about the foundation, right? You got that pyramid, it's going to be that base, you need that base leg. So my money's obviously on Quant, not financial advice, but my personal opinion, it's going to be a top 5. And Ethereum may not be a top 5 in the future.
Yeah, there's ones that in the past have been dethroned. If you look at things from 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, and I always look at it this way: if you have, Ethereum's going to be around. I'm sure it's not going anywhere. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm just saying if the money starts to come in, and then you have a select few, there may be a dozen who, I don't really know all of the ancillary tokens or projects that may kind of be around the edges of the financial system. But when you have XLM, XRP, Quant, XDC, right? Those are going to be the top. And when those are moving money and involved in the financial world out there, I think those can be literally head and shoulders above anything else in the crypto space. You may not even consider it cryptocurrencies any longer.
Yeah, and I think, with the narrative that Quant is setting, I think that's just another perfect case of it. Guys, I don't want you to think I'm ignoring your comments. I definitely am not. It just also need to respect Sean's time, because if we get in the comments right now, I got to respect his time as well. So we're almost towards the end of this segment. The next particular segment is quite a surprise. So if you're wondering, like, well, what about your basketball games, Max? Phoenix Suns advanced to the second round, so you don't have to worry about that for a little while. So will there be WrestleMania tonight? Possibly. I don't know. But I have some info I want to share with you guys after our time is up with Sean, that we'll definitely get into with a totally different project, not Quant. So definitely stick around for that. We're gonna jump a little bit more into what we have from the great Quant Papa in regards to all this. So let's get into this, and it's implementing secure bridges. And basically speaking, I think you got about another 6 minutes or so, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, it says implementing secure bridges, learning from the secure asset transfer protocol, right? Look at what's mentioned here, guys. Keel, Eric Marstein, Quant Network, right? Alexandru Chirac, Quant Network. Just boom, Quant all the way with SATP. Then on top of that, look at some of this, right? You guys are familiar with, Hyperledger Fabric for the most part. We talk about, for instance, Jasmy. We finally established, guess what? It was last week that you were here, right, Sean? We established that Jasmy is using Hyperledger Fabric.
Yep.
Remember, for the patent?
Yep.
Exactly. People are like, flooding Jasmy, saying, Jasmy's garbage, bro. Yeah, that's why I use Hyperledger Fabric. Okay, please. So look what it says, there's, figure 1 architecture solution, right? A bridge between Fabric and BSU using SATP's implementation. Oh my God. I just figured out, Sean?
What?
This is kind of a bombshell to a sense. I'll have to look more into this. So if anybody's just tuning in, remember in a while back, a couple days ago, I basically said, hey guys, I wouldn't be surprised if in the future, with the whole thing of Quant and that patent in Japan, if at some point maybe like they try to work with like Jasmine tries to work with Quant with interoperability and so on. Well, I'm just saying flat out, if Jasmine is using Hyperledger Fabric, right, which we established that, and SATP is the bridge between Fabric, like you see right here, right? Put the two together, the Quant connection. Get what I'm saying? Am I too far off? I don't think
No,
so.
I you know what? I think you are onto something there.
So that was a
that's clearly
theory.
that's clearly a connection.
That was a theory I had a few days ago, and oh my God.
Hyperledger led you to it.
It did. Hyperledger totally led me to it. And then this
Yeah.
whole statement from SATP. So, when you talk about interoperability and people are like, well, okay, I'm tired of hearing about it. That's so impressive because something out of the woodwork that you didn't even realize about, boom, there you go. I mean, I'm not making this stuff up for crying out loud. Like, look, there's, we already done so many deep dives about SATP anyway. SATP will not interact directly with CBDC, rather Euro or digital USD. Let's go to the next page. Now we know about ISO 222, but I want to blow this up because it's kind of small. Share this tab instead. Oh, that's sharing Google. Why would I want to share Google? I don't want to share Google. Here we go. My bad. All right. So here you guys go. And this is nice and big, right? Yep. All right. So it says, thank you for the inputs. This is from John R. Levine. This was April 11th, 2023. So this is all really recent stuff, guys. All right. So again, shout out to Quant Papa. I don't know where he's getting all his information. I know some of the stuff he can't really release at all, but he definitely has some kind of connection or something. But he says, thank you for the inputs into SATP working group meeting at Yokohama. Oh my God. Again, another. Sean.
What?
The whole thing with Jasmine meeting at Yokohama. Oh my God. What the heck, man? I'm about to burst my head here.
Yeah, you're seeing it once you see it,
God.
You start to see it everywhere.
Oh my God. So you guys are in the Jasmine and Quant. I mean, wow. Like, we're just giving you guys some this is like a crypto Hulk moment for crying out loud. Like, this is unbelievable. You cannot make this stuff up, right, Sean? I mean, it's crazy. But all right. So meeting at Yokohama and the pointers to ISO 222. As far as I can understand, the ISO 222 messaging specifications currently covers payments, but does not cover non-fungible tokens. All right. But that is in regards to ISO 222 messaging. Keep in mind with ISO TC 307 and Quant's, so many abbreviations, my God. QRC 721, secure smart contracts, they accomplished that. All right. So anyway, let's get into this. So take a look at the 222 message, catalog. They cover a broad range of transactions. Since NFTs are securities, I start by looking at the securities messages or maybe trade services. Also keep in mind that the 222 participants define new message types all the time. They could create specific messages for NFTs if people thought they were useful. Okay, fair enough. Now, how about SATP? Now, here's the connection. SATP protocol could possibly be used also for tokenized deposits. Did anybody know that? Here's an example. Fiat money being deposited into regulated CBDC network, and it's digitally represented as a token data structure. Here, the gateway operator could effectively become like a bank. Oh my God, this is juicy stuff, guys, that receives incoming assets, fiat money, and records this into the DLT. Sean, your thoughts?
I have to read that again because it is. It seems
it's
like
big, ain't it?
Yeah, that is big. SATP protocol possibly used tokenized. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's like a mic drop moment right there, man.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I have to read that again, literally.
Can we not give a follow to Quant Papa? I mean, come on, you guys. At least, unbelievable.
Tokenized deposits, fiat money being deposited into regulated CBDC network. That's crazy.
This absolutely, like, this is our Crypto Hulk moment. Shout out to Crypto Hulk. Everybody, like, when this show is over, just go out and buy like the greatest mink rug you ever had in your life. Like duct tape it to your back, you know what I mean? And just flex all the way and give Crypto Hulk a shout out and so on, and do what you got to do. All right. Look at this, guys. I think we were this bottom part, right? Let's jump into this. I suppose that if there ever were a token, CBDC, it states all the ones he's seen are like the Bahamian sand dollar, or book entry. They presumably work the same way as existing payment schemes like the UK faster payments and US Fed now. Oh my God. I mean, I reviewed most of this. This was the part where I didn't have enough time to get to this part.
Yeah.
I'm like, thank you, Quant Papa.
Yeah, I really wonder where he gets this info.
Oh, it's crazy.
Man.
Crazy stuff. So, all right. I gotta respect your time. Let me see if there's a tad bit left. That might be close to the bottom. Hold on a second. So there was that. Oh my God, there's like there's 2 slides and then there's an extension. Oh my God, the Swift connection after this, Sean. You got like, I promise. How about like just like 5 to 10 minutes max? That's it.
Yeah, I got like 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right, guys, let's jump into this part right here. All right. So let me share this as well. All right. Gilbert Verdian says workshop at the office followed by dinner and drinks with Martin and Alex at IETF 115. He's having drinks and dinner with the pioneers of the freaking internet, and there's fudders who want to complain about him resigning his position at the Digital Pound Foundation. Are you kidding me? All right. He says Thomas Dennis ads and so on. Will there be, they'll be there. It says this other guy will do a dry run. All right, hold on a second. Let's see where we're going here. Gilbert, look at this, guys. He says talk to banks. Swift was interested in our effort. Right. And you did see Martin Hargreaves at Cybos from last year talk about how Swift was interested. So this is kind of again a reiteration. It's mentioned again. Here's Martin Hargreaves this time, right, on this text. Swift has released a paper on asset transfers. Ooh, that's juicy. And then this bottom part says commit final return 200. All right. Well, that's just that's it in regards to Swift. I don't know. I thought I'd show you that part. We're going to jump to the bottom part because I realized I probably got like 2 or 3 minutes left with the great Sean the Cryptosmith. EBA Day 2023. Look what it says, guys. It's June 20th through the 21st of this year. All right. Advancing next generation payments. Look what it says. A quest for global interoperability. All right. The bottom part. Annual summit for the leading payments and transaction banking executives. Can't make this stuff up, right? And you have to share in the right tab, Mr. Cryptosmith.
There you go.
There we go. So it's pointing to what I just mentioned. All right. Then on top of that, here's the last part. And then Sean, you're more than welcome to stick around or go or do what you got to do. Here it is. Let me blow it up. Just actually, I guess that's blown up enough, right? You can see that, right?
Yep.
All right. Quant is the foundation of the blockchain economy. Assets of all kinds, from currencies to carbon credits, are being tokenized, making their ownership immutable, just like their commercial, their provenance traceable, and their use manageable. Their patent pending technology makes this simple, trusted, and future proof. We work with financial institutions, just like you saw in this whole entire outline, for crying out loud, and corporates to dramatically reduce their time to market, create new revenue lines, and mitigate risk by delivering enterprise-grade solutions built with security and compliance front of mind. Founded in 2018, right? These guys have been around for a while. Fudders. Quant is UK-based with a US presence. Notice it says US presence. So in closing, I thought that was one hell of a show that we had today for you guys with the great Sean the Cryptosmith. Sean,
you know what that was?
You gotta tell me, man.
That was a very long commercial for Quant.
For Quant?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not sponsored by Quant. But if they want to donate, 9,999 Quant on behalf of CTN and myself, Sean, and a few other people, we're more than glad to be sponsored. So.
Yeah, exactly. Won't turn it down.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you have not yet subscribed, do yourself a favor and subscribe for more information on the ISO 222 compliant tokens, and hit the notification bell to make sure that you are aware of the new videos when they come up. Max and I cover these ISOs, and we also have a live show every single night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you tune in for that. You won't want to miss it. Thanks again, and we will see you on the next video.